This is a sports catastrophe production.
Hey there, hello there, it's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to another Sports Catastrophe Birthday Boy. And of course, today is February the 9th. There will be no on this day. It's just a birthday boy. And this birthday boy I thought was alive still, but he's dead. But what can I do? Anyway, this man was the fourth president of the NHL. In 1977, he became the president of the NHL and reigned until 1992. He was inducted to the Hockey Hall of Fame in 1987. His name, John Ziegler, who was born February 9th, 1934. John Ziegler was known for practicing law before his NHL career. He was a senior partner at his own firm, which helped the NHL in a few things, and became the NHL president in 1977. He was actually involved with the Detroit Red Wings and was chairman of the NHL Board of Governors for a year. So, as president of the NHL, he had to deal with a financial crisis. Many clubs were having financial problems. He said the NHL was insolvent and would work his law degrees and make sure that people paid money and all that so that he can make every team successful and all that. Anyway, one of his biggest moves was the NHL WHA merger. So it was huge. The WHA was getting bad financially and all that. The NHL was asked to take some teams on in the WHA. And so basically, he did. Many owners said that the WHA is a rival league. Why should we add more teams in it? All that. Ziegler had first given 6 WHA teams a chance to join for the 77-78 season if conditions were met. But unfortunately, the proposal was voted down. And the WHA went down to 8 teams for the 78 season. But the merger happened. Ziegler decided to put 4 teams into the NHL in 1979-80, meaning there would be 21 teams in the NHL, which would be pretty good, but not uneven. Anyhow, he worked it, despite the fact that the Canadian clubs, Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal, were really not pleased with this because they would have to share revenue and all that. And of course, Molson got bombarded by death threats and all that shit. However, Ziegler stuck to his guns and allowed the WHA to send 4 teams. 3 of them were Canadian, Edmonton, Winnipeg, and Quebec, while Hartford came from America. And it worked out. The others were kind of a decent team that won the Stanley Cup by 1984. The Winnipeg Jets were just plain awful, only winning 2 playoff series in their lifetime as the Winnipeg Jets before they went to Arizona. The Hartford Whalers would be decent, but unfortunately financial woes meant they had to go to Carolina, and the Quebec Nordiques were decent and a great rival for Montreal. Unfortunately, they suffered financially as well and had to go to Colorado. Ziegler was also known for not being afraid to make suspensions and all that. So anyway, after the Boston-New York fiasco at Madison Square Garden in December 1979, he decided to suspend O'Reilly for 8 games for going into the stands, with McNabb and Milbury for 6 games, each being fined $500. So he wasn't afraid to make massive suspensions. This incident actually had the installation of higher glass panels in closing rinks in hockey arenas so that fans couldn't get to players. It didn't work completely. But in the end, it happened. Anyway, yeah, I forgot to mention about John Ziegler taking over from CLarence Campbell, who was the iron-fisted president of the NHL from 1946 to 1977. It's amazing. 3 decades Clarence Campbell did without everything. And Batman's trying to reach that mark. Fuck. Anyway, Ziegler had his own issues because Pat Quinn of the Kings signed a contract to become coach of the Canucks, which was weird because he was still head coach of the Kings. Quinn was suspended for the rest of the season and barred from taking over Vancouver's hockey operations until June. And he basically banned him from coaching anywhere in the NHL until the 1990 season. And Ziegler's views, Quinn's actions had serious conflict of interest. Quinn did do that. Quinn was the GM of the Canucks until he could be free to do his coaching. Of course, Ziegler was the controversy of the 1988 Stanley Cup playoffs. After the Devils and Bruins played Game 3, Jim Schoenfeld was mad at Don Kuharski for several missed calls, but Kuharski tripped, but Kuharski thought Schoenfeld pushed him and all that. Of course, Schoenfeld responded, "You tripped, you fat pig. Have another donut, have another donut." And of course, Ziegler was suspended by Schoenfeld for Game 4, but the Devils got an injunction allowing Schoenfeld to coach Game 4. Schoenfeld. Unfortunately, though, the officials would not have anything to do with it and decided to leave, so they had to find amateur officials. And the Devils won Game 4. Schoenfeld did serve his suspension for Game 5 at the Boston Garden, but basically, that was huge. It was also mentioned for the lack of work by John Ziegler. Basically, he wasn't around. It was like, where the hell was Ziegler? Was he on vacation? What was that going on? Of course, Ziegler was known for that. And then, of course, Ziegler was upset when Grant Fuhrer came forward about his drug use. He used some kind of substance for 7 years. And details of Fuhrer's drug use were supplied by his ex-wife, who said that she found cocaine in his clothing and fielded numerous threatening phone calls from drug dealers who didn't pay. John Ziegler decided to ban him for 1 year because it was dishonorable and against the welfare of the league. But he relented after a while and allowed Fuhrer come back in February 91 and all that. So anyway, Fuhrer could continue his dazzling career. And then, of course, he had been around when the Soviet players were coming in. Rendezvous 87 happened instead of the All-Star game in Quebec City. The NHL would face the Soviets. It was a 2-game affair, and they split it and all that. During the series, Ziegler stated that Soviet players would never be able to join the NHL because of the Iron Curtain. But by 1991, the Soviet Union had broken up and all that. So that was huge and all that. Yeah, there was a lot of things happening and all that. Well, unfortunately, Ziegler had troubles because there was labor problems, and he was ousted. Mostly because of the control of the players' pension fund and all that. And Alan Eagleson being a dick. All that. Well, of course, the players did win the pension lawsuit in 1994. And unfortunately, Ziegler was forced out of office because of the 92 NHL strike, the 10-day strike. With the CBA and all that. So Ziegler and Goodenow would have to fight for a CBA. Range of issues: how free agency worked, the arbitration process, player bonuses and pensions, and of course trading card revenue. But Ziegler left the NHL in capable hands, or soon was supposed to be capable hands with Gil Stein, but Gil Stein basically was egotistical and wanted to get his own induction to the Hockey Hall of Fame. What a dick. Anyway, so the one problem Ziegler had was a network TV contract in the U.S. because when Game 6 of the 1980 Stanley Cup Finals happened, it was on CBS as part of a CBS Sports Saturday thing. That was the last time an NHL game was on a U.S. major network till the 1990 All-Star Game, which NBC did. And I talked about when I talked about Lemieux's retirement. I mean, Lemieux's All-Star Game in 1990. Isn't that just terrible that, for almost 10 years, no major American network had NHL games, whereas the cable networks did, and that was okay, but still, Ziegler was just a little bit naive in that remark, and that kind of sucked, don't you think? Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond.